Hey, thanks for checking out my video. Chris here from Meditations on the Tarot. Today I'm beginning a new series called Occult Arts and Crafts, and we're going to be making a crystal wand. To get started, you want to gather up all of your materials. So you may want to pause the video and get a pencil and paper so you can write a list. Items you will need include a saw to cut your stick, and you'll need to find a stick. This is from a cherry tree in my yard, and this stick comes from the walnut tree at the top of Powell Butte. And it's a good idea to pick sticks that come from a place that has sentimental value to you, like this top of Powell Butte is an important place for me and my dog. Pick something with sentimental value. You'll also need a chip carving knife and some sandpaper. You'll also want to have a sharp pencil to draw your design on the stick, and you're going to need a crystal for the top of your wand, a taller one, and a shorter crystal for the bottom of your wand. You may also want to include some gemstones. You'll also need some hemp twine. A good place to get some hemp twine is your local head shop, a product called Hempwick. You'll need some adhesive glue, and you'll also need some super glue. You'll need some scotch tape to keep the adhesive off of your stick, and you'll also need a pair of scissors for cutting your twine. You can use clear enamel to finish your crystal wand, or you can use polyurethane or a varnish instead. You'll need some string that you can hang your wand from when you're doing your finishing work, and you'll also need a rubber or a latex glove for smearing your adhesive. Step 2 is preparation. You may want to bathe your crystals in some salt for an hour, or charge your crystals on a crystal grid. You can also charge your crystals in the sunlight or in the moonlight. Now that you have your crystals charged, it's time to make our crystal wand. You want to begin by selecting the stick that you wish to use. You may decide to use a crooked stick, or you may decide to use a straight stick, and that's completely up to you. I recommend using hardwoods like cherry and walnut. The next step is to cut your stick to length. Once you've cut your stick to length, then you remove the bark, and that's just like peeling a carrot. You use your chip carving knife and just peel the bark off. Once you're finished removing the bark, then you'll be ready to do some sanding, and you start with the higher grit and work your way down to the lower grits. Once you're finished sanding, you want to sharpen your pencil, and then you can draw your design onto the stick. You want to pick a design that has a personal meaning to you. So, for example, this design is the Mona hieroglyph of John Dee, who was a Rosicrucian alchemist, and this Mona hieroglyph also appeared in the book The Chemical Wedding by Christian Rosenkreutz. So that has a personal meaning to me in that way. Some of the other symbols I used were the salt, sulfur, and mercury of the ancient alchemists, and the 4 elements of fire, water, air, and earth. I also used the cipher symbol for the rose cross, which represents Rosicrucian philosophy, and is also a cipher symbol for the completion of the alchemical process. Our next step is to carve out our design. If you haven't ever done any chip carving, I would check out a couple videos on YouTube, and you may want to practice on a piece of scrap wood first. Then you want to dry fit the pieces together to make sure that they all fit correctly. You can carve holes to inlay the gems at this point. And you may need to carve the stick ends to fit the crystals. Then you want to do a final dry fit of the pieces before you glue them together. And now you're ready for step 4, which is assembly. We want to begin by super gluing the crystals on first. And you want to make sure the crystal is straight so you can hold your stick straight up and down and check it from all angles. The next step is that we add adhesive around the joint for extra support. And we're going to use the tape 1/4 inch from either side. And using a rubber glove, we're going to smear adhesive around the joint. Once you remove the tape, you will see a glue line, and you want to keep that glue line there. You don't want to scrape that off. Next, we'll adhesive our gemstones into place, and we'll allow the adhesive to dry. We'll begin wrapping the joints. We'll super glue the end of the string and hold it in place for 30 seconds. Then we'll begin wrapping counterclockwise upwards towards the top of the crystal. Once we've covered the glue line, then we'll begin wrapping back downwards towards the bottom. You wrap back down the stick to the place that you like, and then you get your scissors and you cut the hemp string. Use a tiny amount of super glue and hold in place for 20 seconds. So now we finished the smaller crystal and it's wrapped and complete. Now we'll begin the same process again and we'll wrap the larger crystal. We'll super glue our hemp string beginning right inside that joint there. And we'll hold the string in place for 20 seconds to let the super glue dry. We'll begin wrapping counterclockwise towards the top until we cover the glue line, and then we'll start wrapping back down, and you want to cover at least 1/4 inch of the stick. We'll cut our string to length, and then we'll super glue our string. We're going to hold that in place for 20 seconds. If you got any glue on the stick, you need to sand it off before you can begin the finish work. Now, step 5 is the finish work. You can use a polyurethane for a softer, lighter finish, or you could use a clear enamel for a hard and high gloss finish. So this is an example of a polyurethane finish, and this is an example of a clear enamel finish. You want to put tape around the crystals, but don't cover the hemp string. You want to take another piece of string to hang the wand by its end. You tuck it into that tape there. Then you want to hang the wand outside, and using light coats, you want to cover the entire wand at once. After several coats, you let the wand dry before you remove the tape. You can do light finish sanding with a sponge only if you need to, but you want to try a piece of cardstock paper to remove any bumps first. Your crystal wand is now complete and almost ready to use. And the last step, step 6, is consecration. You can anoint your crystal wand with an abramelin oil or with the patchouli oil, or you can add them both together and anoint your crystal wand with both. Next, you want to do a consecration ritual to purify your wand. I have a couple videos on YouTube here, which are crystal wand consecration videos. I have 2 different ones, and one's a little shorter, one's a little bit longer. And you can also make up your own crystal wand consecration videos. So thanks for watching. Peace profound, and L.V.X.